Welcome to a chat with Brian. My name's David, I'm the Behaviorist, and I have Dr Brian Walker here, MP, and we're going to have a chat today. Brian, I was walking down by the creek the other day with my partner because we live a bit by the river, and we saw some rubbish on the ground, and she picks it up and she studiously puts it in the bin. Every time she does this, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, that's an amazing act of service. It really touched my heart at the times that she does this. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a little bit about service today and the Hippocratic Oath, because I don't think many people know about the Hippocratic Oath. Can you elucidate us, please?
Well, it's an old oath. I mean, it's from the time of Hippocrates, ancient Greece. Primum nil nocere is the Latin, which does not mean first I don't care. It doesn't mean that. First, do no harm. It's a primary command for all doctors who have sworn that oath. Not every doctor has sworn that oath. Now, it's a bit difficult because did you know that one of the major causes for death is actually doctors?
No, I did not know that.
Well, you think, when doctors went on strike a couple of times, the death rate fell. And in the US, for example, the number 3 cause of death, and it's probably the same in Australia, is what doctors prescribe. Properly prescribed medication, properly administered, results in about 120,000 annual US deaths. Wow. That's an awful lot of World Trade Centers, and no one cares.
Amazing.
So it comes down to the question of, what are we as doctors doing? What are we doing in the health and the healing profession? And the answer is, we're doing more of the same. And did you know, for example, that one of the biggest causes of our lack of wellness is actually things like the food processing industry, ruining our intestinal systems, which is the primary source of most of our chronic disease. And no one cares. And it's very, very poorly taught in medical schools.
I absolutely had no idea about that. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, certainly. We have been led for the last, over 100 years, basically by a pharmaceutical industry. More pills, and we can fix that problem. So keep on making yourself sick, and we'll find a pill which makes you better, and by the way, we make some profit as well. So the ancient joke there, a patient cured is a profit lost. It's true. So even now, for example, the reason that I'm looking at cannabis so strongly is because it's a healthy healing herb, which can at times, if you want, be misused, but there's such a lot of wonderful properties. Why was it banned in the first place? And it certainly wasn't for any science. So what we have here is an unscientific removal from our society of a healing plant. And the consequences have been not just in the trillions of dollars lost to our society, but in lives lost, in quality of life lost. And what's replaced it? Well, we've got the oil industry, the paper industry, the clothing industry. We're using cotton instead of hemp. And we've got a whole host of losses to our society because we have followed someone else's unscientific principles. And we doctors have not stood up for wellness. Now, wellness as a concept simply isn't mentioned at all. Diagnose a disease, fix the problem, next patient please. Wellness is actually a whole different concept. It's not the absence of a sickness, it's how do you feel.
Okay, so how can people make a change? What can be done about this, especially you being a parliamentarian?
Well, you remember that story you told just now about your wife picking up rubbish?
Yeah.
That's the start.
Yeah.
That is the start. Look, when you allow yourself to walk past something which can be fixed and you can fix it and you leave it, someone else can fix that, that is actually a fundamental problem in all of society. Someone else is going to do that job, not me.
I think there was a Simpsons episode about that.
Well, very likely Simpsons is a fantastic allegory for our whole world. But if you allow yourself to walk past someone who's being abused in the street and not help them, for example, racial violence, okay? I'll tell you a story actually about a time I was walking down the street in another country, and this Indian man was walking down the street, and this other white person was abusing him viciously. I mean, it would have led to violence because he was actually arcing up and was going to actually threaten this person with physical violence. So I happened to be walking by at the same place, and as the guy, he probably was an ex-soldier or a serving soldier, and I've been there. So I stood beside this Indian man and said, "Excuse me, may I stand by your shoulder and walk with you?" So we walked, and as we walked, this man kept abusing at this person, but looked at me and said, "What's he doing here?" I was doing nothing at all. So we just walked and took no response at all, just allowed that to happen, and I'm standing with this man here, giving him someone else's, I'm not alone. Okay, and the man eventually just gave up and left. The poor gentleman was shattered, of course, because he was, in a great danger.
Of course.
I, on the other hand, felt really good that I had at least helped someone that day. And that's it. We in Australia, we've got a wonderful society of people who are prepared to help. I used to be a surf lifesaver.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. City Beach in Perth, I loved that. There's one beautiful day there, saved 6 people. I didn't. Of course, I was part of a team. The swimmer went out. In those days, we had the line and the vest, if you like, to go out and get pulled back in again. We don't do that now.
No.
But man, working as a team, working together, helping the people, volunteering your time.
Yes, volunteering your time. That's
Indeed,
right.
because this is a society here, and I'm not going to let my brother or sister stand in need.
That's it.
And
That's
all over Australia, we have people prepared to stand up and work to help
right.
other people in need.
That's right.
Isn't that a wonderful thing?
And I mean, what can our listeners do? What can our viewers do to be a part of this? To be a part of this movement, this volunteering movement of change?
Recognize, I think, that it is your business. Making sure, for example, you walk by a house, there's a broken window, people are going to say, listen, we'll break other windows. It's a pattern, we know this. We can report this, we can say this has to be fixed. We could maybe even help the neighbour if he's having trouble to fix that window. If you're passing by your neighbour's house and he's having trouble, let's give you a hand. You're old, you can't manage to mow your grass, let's send out my 18-year-old boy to mow it for you. So we can work together because we're all brothers and sisters. We're all mothers and fathers, all sons and daughters. We are one family.
That's right. And, I mean,
And being aware of that, get out there and stand up for humanity. It's a matter of service. And it's not just that we come into Parliament to say we're going to serve the people and then not do it. We need to have this atmosphere in our society where I can make a change. I can be of help. I can contribute. And I will feel better for having done it. So the question I've got for the people in general is, stand with us. Stand for what you believe in. Do something. It doesn't matter if I agree with you or not. Stand up and do something. Now, I have to say there's a different problem here. There are people getting up, I believe in, for example, the riots supporting Palestine. I don't really have a particular view of that. What I do say is, if you're abusing and hurting other people, whatever your beliefs are, you're wrong.
that's right. And as a democratic citizen, this is a hard question. What do you think stops people standing up, stops people volunteering, stops people doing the same thing, or keeps people doing the same thing on the same day and expecting a different result? What is that?
Well, we have been, as people, disengaged, disenfranchised from life. It's all about me, understandable. I'm having a hard time. I've got to look after myself and my family, and no one else matters. And this is actually, did you know the politicians actually welcome this? The less the people actually get engaged with politics, the freer we are to maintain control and power over the money. That's what it's about. We need to change this, because if we don't, we're going to go down into a very dark path. So the call for the people is to stand up and take your place in society. You belong here just like anyone else does. We all matter.
That's right.
Stand up.
That's right.
And take part. Whatever you're doing, take part.
And if you want to get your power back, even a little bit, volunteer. That's what it's about.
Well, of course you could say, listen, come and stand with us and volunteer for our party, by all means, whichever party that is. Stand up and do something to help your dreams and wishes and aspirations become true. Sitting there and saying someone else ought to do this, or the critical thing here, that's bad, or all that negativity. Stand apart from that. Stand above that. We need to look at the positivity. What can I do to contribute to this beautiful country of ours?
Absolutely. And on that note, I'm going to bid you adieu and ciao. Thank you, Brian. You've been listening to A Chat with Brian. And please like, subscribe, share, and by all means get in contact with us. And last but not least, volunteer.
Volunteer.